Welcome to Channel 44. I am Masiga Shegusembatia to bring you this afternoon's news in brief, live here on Channel 44. I'll be joined by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. A 24-year-old man infected with Ebola has died in central Uganda in a fresh outbreak confirmed by health officials. The health minister has told journalists that the victim had exhibited symptoms before succumbing to the disease. He was a resident of Ngabano village in Mubende district, about 147 kilometers from the capital, Kampala. The case of the relatively rare Sudan strain was confirmed by the Uganda Virus Research Institute, according to the World Health Organization in a statement. It said 8 people with suspected symptoms are receiving medical care and that it is sending staff to the affected area. The East African country last reported an outbreak of the strain in 2012. Moving on to Cameroon, 8 people, including Catholic priests, a nun and worshippers, are being held in captivity by separatist fighters in Cameroon's southwest region. Their abductors also burned down a church during the attack in Chang, a community in the region. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. The Catholic Church authorities said they were shocked by this attack. Catholic bishops under the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference said men and women of God had been soft targets of abductions and threats since 2016. And in Ethiopia, UN investigators say they believe the Ethiopian government is behind the ongoing crimes against humanity in the northern Tigray region. In a report, the Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia highlighted what it called credible information of large-scale killings committed by Ethiopia's National Defense Force that targeted Tigrayan men and boys of fighting age. The government has not responded to the allegations. Investigators say it is also evidence that starvation is being used as a weapon of war. And in the United Kingdom, we bring you the details of what happened as the Queen was laid to rest. It was a day when people stood still on the streets and in their homes to witness Queen Elizabeth II's final journey. Royals and world leaders were inside Westminster Abbey, but outside there were many more ordinary mourners lining the streets of central London, and further beyond in living rooms and parks, in pubs, cinemas and town squares, the British public marked the first state funeral for nearly 6 decades in millions of individual ways. In Doncaster, Alistair Mitchell brought afternoon tea and sandwiches for his mother, who had not been able to make the journey to London. At the Castles Cinema in Sheffield, there were no pre-show trailers or the sound of rustling popcorns, just an audience dressed in mostly black as they watched the ceremony. Blackpool's illuminations were switched off. And moving on, UN investigators, Hurricane Fiona is continuing to strengthen, threatening lives in parts of the Caribbean, according to U.S. forecasters. The National Hurricane Center said the Category 2 storm, currently packing speeds over 110 meters per hour, could even worsen to a Category 4, the second highest designation. Rain is lashing Puerto Rico, where at least 2 people have died and 90% of the island remains without power. The president of the Dominican Republic says damage is considerable. Louis Abinader has declared 3 eastern provinces to be disaster zones, and warnings from the NHC of heavy rains and life-threatening flash flooding in eastern areas. Several villages were cut off in the country as floodwaters rose, while hundreds of people were forced to leave their homes and thousands were left without power. And in Japan, rescue workers have warned of mudslides and flooding as one of the biggest storms in recent decades batters the country. Typhoon Nanmado has killed at least 2 people and injured 90 others since it made landfall on the southern island of Kyushu on Sunday morning. 9 million people have been told to evacuate, and more than 350,000 homes are without power. Forecasters predict up to 400 up to 400 millimeters of rain over the next 24 hours. State broadcaster NHK said one man was killed when his car was submerged in flooding and another died after being buried in a landslide. One more person remains missing and reports say 87 others have been injured. The super typhoon brought gusts of up to 234 kilometers per hour, destroying homes and disrupting transport and businesses. It is equivalent to the category of 4 or 5 hurricanes. And climate change is threatening the health and survival of trees in urban areas, including Africa, with more than half of species under threat, according to a new study. Research in the journal Nature Climate Change says trees in cities globally are under pressure as the weather gets warmer and drier. Trees are particularly vulnerable in countries like India, Niger, Nigeria, and Togo. Scientists want better protection of existing trees and for drought-resistant varieties to be planted. Oaks, maples, poplars, elms, pines, and chestnuts are among more than 1,000 species believed to be at risk. Trees are having cooling effects and provide shade, making cities more livable. The research used the Global Urban Tree Inventory, a database recording more than 4,000 trees and shrubs planted in 164 cities to assess the impact of global warming. And on the Ukraine-Russian war, Ukraine's recapture of the city of Izium has brought multiple allegations of atrocities under Russian occupation. Among the accounts emerging is that of a group of Sri Lankans held captive for months. They tell their story and they say they thought they would never get out alive. Sri Lankans were captured by Russian forces in May. The group had just set out on a huge walk to safety from their homes in Kupiansk, northeastern Ukraine, to the relatively safety of Kharkiv, more than 120 kilometers, which is 75 miles away. And finally, Prime Minister Liz Truss has vowed to match the UK's spending on military support to Ukraine next year at a speech to the UN. Ms. Truss pledged that her government will match or exceed £2.3 billion support given to Ukraine's inspirational troops since February. World leaders are meeting in New York for the UN General Assembly today. Since Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces invaded the Ukraine on the 24th of February, only the United States has sent more military aid and to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ms. Truss's visit to the U.S. is her first foreign trip as Prime Minister. Political activity and government business have been paused until after the Queen's funeral, which Ms. Truss attended alongside other politicians, foreign dignitaries, and members of the royal family. Well, that brings us to the end of this afternoon's news in brief. I remain Mercy Gachagua Sembatia. I remind you of the Karamoja cry. Please join us as we send food relief to the people of Karamoja. These are our own. Right now, we are no longer sending this temporary solution of food, but we are also going to plow, plant, and produce for them in their land to the glory of God. It is their time to get out of poverty. It is their time to get out of hunger, and it will never happen again. Please join us by sending your contribution to the numbers that will be availed during the services, or you can bring your contribution and your donation. It can be in form of clothes, it can be in form of beddings, it can be in form of food or anything. Bring it to the Miracle Center Cathedral. God will bless you tremendously. Or you can bring it during the services. We have services every day, prayer meetings that will quickly enlighten you and send you into the presence of God very well. God bless you. Enjoy your afternoon. Pastor Jessica Kayanja is coming on. Good afternoon.